Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at. Welcome back here. It is the Earth Master with an update on this January 17th, 2024, 11:52 a.m. here, California time. Latest quake shows a 1.3 into the region of Southern California. First, starting off here with the activity in Iceland, where we are seeing a little bit of uptick in earthquake activity a little bit further outside of the Grindavik zone. Well, over here in this region of the Rift Zone, we've seen a 4.0 coming in there a few hours ago. This area has seen some earthquake activity here in the last couple weeks, a little swarming going on here. In fact, they updated this little triangle, which is a volcano there, to a yellow status, meaning that activity is somewhat elevated there in terms of earthquake activity. But specifically here around the Grindavik area, where we're still sitting at a yellow, this was red in our past eruptive fissure activity here, but they've dropped this down for now since the eruption has halted for the moment. Earthquake activity specifically showing up here around the southern end of this magma intrusion area. Now, this magma intrusion area has been chatted about a lot. This article was put out back in November before the eruption there in the middle of December last year happen. So here is the original magma intrusion area in that red line. Now, we did have, fissure activity open up here around this segment back in December, and then most recently these two that opened up a little bit closer to Grindavik, and then one really close to town, the little small fracture here just a couple days ago, right? Lasted for a short period. Everyone's starting to wonder, well, what's next? We've seen elevated land rise here. We've seen a couple eruptive events and a very minimal deflation. So inflation is still quite elevated out here across the Grindavik area. I'm going to lean towards that we're going to see further fissure activity along this southern segment here of the magma intrusion tunnel. They call it a tunnel, but magma intrusion area here. And unfortunately, that will put it further into the Grindavik region. But that's something that seems more likely, at least in my perspective, of how these events have played out over the last couple months. Elevated land rise across this area indicates magma is furthering, so to speak. It's building within this zone. So it makes sense to see fissure activity open up further south along that line. Now, they did put out a little article here today. The Icelandic Met Office latest informational statement here shows, and this is what I've been saying here, land uplift continues at the Svartsengi area. Danger still assessed as very high within Grindavik. Magma accumulation continues underneath the Svartsengi. It is too early to assert that the rate of land uplift shortly after the volcanic eruption. Experts will continue to assess data from GPS meters in the area to get an overall assessment of the situation. They lost one of their GPS stations there, which was located north of Grindavik. It actually, the lava went over it, so that is out of commission, unfortunately. Seismic activity over the area has over the magma conduit in the last 24 hours has been mild. Computer models shows that magma lies shallow at the southern end of the conduit, where the land appears to be heavily fractured. Now, that's this area down here that I just mentioned for the Grindavik area. It is therefore there is a continued likelihood that a new eruption fissures. This is translated kind of weird, so I'm trying to read along, and it's not making sense. Continued likelihood that new eruptive fissures may open without warning. There's still danger within Grindavik related to fissures and the potential for ground collapse into them. So yeah, we're still looking at, that potential of further eruptive fissure activity here in Grindavik. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. Let's look at the GPS activity here today and see how we're looking. And specifically around the Grindavik area, the Svartsengi area has just, even with this most recent fissure eruption we have not seen anything go down in terms of like a deflation event. It just keeps going up and up and up. So the Svartsengi area, Grindavik area. Let's see, where is Grindavik? Grindavik is down here a ways, I believe. Unless I missed it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so right here is our Grindavik run. And now you notice some areas have, well, it's kind of hard to tell if this is dropped off or if this is just an adjustment from this little measurement here. I think that's just a little adjustment, I believe. This may have been the drop-off here, though, from the eruptive activity just a few days ago. But that's one station here. The other station here in Grindavik does not show any type of drop-off. This is the area towards the southern end of the magma intrusion area, where I believe some further eruptive activity will take place. If you look here, in the Grindavik GPS 4-hour run here, things are still going up, even following the eruptive activity just north of the town itself. So magma, I feel, is definitely going to be, what's the word for it, popping up here soon, as far as eruptive activity goes, eruptive fissures. It just seems to make sense that that would be the next area, but again, not 100% certain. It's just a matter of perspective, and it looks like it's taking its path down south there towards Grindavik. Now the Svartsengi area, here's their GPS measurements. Shows a little bit, just a little bit of a drop off. I have to make it big here so we can see the dotted lines here in the last day or so. Looks like there's been a little bit of a drop off. Here's when the eruption activity kicked up, and then we started going back up here. Notice on the chart, obviously we've been going up and up and up at the Svartsengi area. And it does look like we've taken a little bit of a turn down, but not much. We're still elevated in that region, and I've said to watch for some earthquake activity out here across the Grindavik area, across the Iceland area in general, that would show potential elevated magma movement across the area. This area right here did show some movement even following the eruptive activity back in December. So the key is to keep an eye on the movement of the plates out here. I believe when things start to move, we see elevated earthquake activity. That's when things have enough force pressure to create these eruptive fissures and break through the surface there. Right now, around the Grindavik area, that's where most of the earthquake activity is kicking up, even some south here. Remember that line I showed you guys? That line does extend through. There's a couple other different images here. This one's not all that great. This is just an article, but it does go through this portion of town and offshore a little bit. So I think the most likely area that we're going to see some further fissure activity opening up in terms of eruptive is going to be in this area right here. We'll continue to watch that. I hope that's not the case, but it's been following this trend here lately. It started up north here right about this region, worked its way down here. Now I think we're going to follow that line. All right, earthquake activity here on this Wednesday. Well, not a whole lot of big activity. Let's check out the largest magnitude here. Looks like we did have a 5.6 here south of the Philippines, 51 kilometers deep. Also a 5-pointer in the Mariana Trench area, 143 kilometers here into that subduction zone. It's inland, but definitely underneath this area into the subduction zone area. But aside from that, look at the map here. There's really not a whole lot going on globally. Most of the movement is scattered out here across this region of the Java Trench, stretching towards the Indonesia Islands area. 4.9 coming in right now, it looks like, in the last couple hours. New Zealand, nothing showing up down there. South America area, very minimal movement, and up into the North American plate. Let's see what we got here for activity. It looks like Yellowstone's having a little bit of movement up here. Outside of the Yellowstone Lake area. So let's go check it out, see what we have. Haven't even looked at this yet. Yeah, there's a tad bit of earthquake activity. You can see it showing up here. It looks like mainly around the Pitchstone Plateau. It does show up across other seismograph stations, but it looks like the epicenter area is here around this region here. Definitely a good little clustering of earthquake activity. The USGS showing roughly about 7 earthquakes here. The largest one's going to be a 2.5 in that mix of earthquake activity. Taking that's going to be the 2.5 right here. But we have seen, I would say, a lot more than 7 earthquakes out here. I could probably count, a good 30 or 40 of them if you count all these little smaller spikes as well. I'm not going to count it, but definitely seen a little bit of earthquake activity there across Yellowstone. And again, that looks like it's around the Pitchstone Plateau area, similar to what they have here on the USGS map. But their last one was put out 6 o'clock this morning. It looks like they only included one event from this activity here that occurred about 6 o'clock this morning. I would say there's more than one event there, right? Anyway, moving on. See what else we have across the area. The Appalachian Mountains here seeing a 2.2, 4 o'clock this morning. Outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, nothing big. Still seeing a little bit of movement out here. Texas area, still seeing aftershock activity, or not aftershock, but the oil fields getting hit. A little bit of movement offshore here. Very shallow earthquake activity. It's around the Juan de Fuca Canyon. This is very shallow movement, 3.2, 2.1. This activity from yesterday, we have been seeing some tremor activity up there recently. Let me show you guys the Cascadia tremor. Now this activity is not earthquakes, but they are vibrational tremors, so to speak, between the two plates here. You got the North American plate and the Juan de Fuca plate that's over here. That little plate is subducting underneath the North American region, creating these tremors at a slow slip type of activity. And that looks like it's straining the area upstream here across this region with these shallow earthquakes. Remember, the tremor activity, when it's subducting like that, adds further strain upstream towards the surface. That's how you build the stress up here against the locked area. That's how the Cascadia is building up its next energy for a 9-pointer out here. So a little bit of a sign here that we're looking at some stress out here within this region. So keep an eye on that. That was again from yesterday, but doesn't look like we've seen anything else this morning or today so far. We'll continue to watch it though. Northern California looks about the same as yesterday. Really don't think we got anything going on here right now. 2.7 near Hayfork. That was earlier about 1 o'clock this morning, and then also 2.6 down here. Literally minutes within each other, but some adjustment going on here across the North American plate. That 2.6 down here south of the border. Aside from that, generally small microquake activity here today. Nothing really of concern for now. Let's see what we got going on in the Big Island. A little bit of activity stirring up right now. One earthquake here near the Helena Slump region. 1.8. Doesn't look like there's too much earthquake activity there today. Let's go check it out and see what we have for the latest update. Goodness, excuse me. This update was put out today. The volcano is currently not erupting, and looks like 4 small magnitude earthquakes, less than 2. The magnitude 2 recorded beneath the caldera. So nothing has changed in terms of that. Let's check out the tilt meter out here today. See if we're going up. Kind of like I was expecting here. Let's see. Is this going to work? There we go. Thank you. Alrighty. Tilt meter is going to be the UWE station right here. Ooh, it kind of dropped off here. We were going up. This was last night, and it looks like it did go up a little bit, and then a sharp downward trend, meaning deflation. Overall sign, though, is still somewhat elevated. Now, if we look at the last couple events here, this one looks somewhat similar to this event, although that secondary spike right here is a little bit larger than the first one. So hard to say exactly. I mean, I don't see this just going away, going down completely, but we do get these little events, as we've seen here back in December, where it goes lower than the previous inflation level, and then a sharp rise back up. So we'll watch that. I'm thinking by tonight we should see that thing go back up here in terms of inflation there at the Kilauea volcano. Here's a live look. Looks like sunny day out there today. This is lens flaring. You can see the colors here from the sun at that angle shining into the lens of this camera, creating these little type of events here. It looks like they're on the surface, but they're not. Those are lens flares. But aside from the surface activity, looks like just some volcanic gases seeping out around the lava lake area. Nothing big, nothing of concern yet. As far as Mauna Loa goes, fairly quiet up here at this volcano. Activity down here across Pahala is very common, very typical at that depth and those type of magnitudes. Just been an ongoing swarm of activity there since about the 60s or so. They've studied this little swarming. There's a whole bunch of articles regarding the Pahala earthquake swarm, and it's consistent. It's got a lot of consistency there in terms of earthquake activity throughout the years, with really no main huge earthquake in this area, historically anyway. Let's see what else we got. Back out of here real quick and see. Yeah, so somewhat quiet out here for the Atlantic, aside from that 4-pointer up in Iceland there a little bit ago. Puerto Rico Trench, a handful of smaller earthquakes out here today, but really nothing big going on, folks, for now. But we'll keep an eye on things. Latest activity here in the space weather world. Not a lot. Currently flaring with a C1.2. And overall threat right now looks like a 95% chance for a C flare. M flare at 25, X flare around 5% chance. I'm not for sure if that's why it's at 5%. There's really no mentioning of it here across the sunspots, so maybe Kevin just hasn't changed it up there yet, but I think these should be a lot lower. All right, and you can check, like I say, there's other space weather sites out there that you can check. There's spaceweather.com. These guys have a lot of information out here as well. They're stating, let's see, where's their threat at? Yeah, these guys are actually still showing 5% chance of X flares. I'm not for sure where they're getting that from, but all right. So it's not Kevin; it's the official folks there. Far as the magnetogram imagery out here, looks like we do have numerous sunspots currently facing the Earth. A lot of them, but unfortunately I'm not seeing a whole lot of complexity out here. We do have one regional sunspot out here that's on the northeastern limb. This was flaring with some C flare activity today and last night. Looks like it's not 3556. It's going to be this newer region behind it, unnamed. Here's the most recent imagery. This is from last night, looks like, but we'll keep an eye on that, see if it wants to provide us any flaring here in the coming days. Like I say, there's not a whole lot. Most of these are alpha or beta type sunspots with very limited complexity. Not a whole lot for the auroras either. And it's just the space weather world right now, kind of entering into a little quiet period in terms of solar flares. Space weather, Storm Prediction Center here. Not a whole lot of severe weather threat here. Doesn't look like there's too much in the forecast either in terms of long-term potential. We do have a weather pattern change beginning this weekend out here. for the west coast. We're getting rid of a lot of this colder air. Going to be scooting that off and out of here, and replacing that with some warmer air, much warmer air coming into the area. California's got a few systems to deal with out here. Some decent precipitation as well. Look at that. Even Southern California getting in on some of that rainfall. And looks like we're supposed to pick up a couple inches or so. As we head towards February, this looks like it may pick back up again in terms of the potential rainfall out here. Definitely looking forward to the rain once again. Now here is the let's see. Let me go back here. Temperature map, 6 to 10 day temperature map. This is valid for the 23rd through the 27th here. Notice all that cold air is gone. We're looking at a significant warm up out here, well above out here across the Great Lakes. I mean, it had a little bit of the taste of winter, but it looks like that's going away, being replaced with some much warmer air out here in California as well. But we do have that precipitation coming in, higher snow levels, but the warmer air obviously brings in more precipitation here for California. The 6 to 10 day precipitation map here does show a lot of that moisture pulling up here from the south into Texas and portions of, actually it looks like the majority of the east over here. So yeah, that's good news, right? That is definitely good news in terms of people that don't like the cold. And as we head into 8 to 14 day period, that stretches, looks like the end of January. A little bit of a drier spell out here. January does tend to be one of our wetter months out here in the West Coast, so that's unfortunate, but I think we're going to slip back into the wet period after the 1st of February. And far as temperature maps go, and this goes all the way till the end of January, it looks like it's just going to stay warm out here, folks, in terms of the majority of the country. I wonder what summer is going to be like out here. Goodness. All right, what else is there, folks? I don't know if there's anything else. This was issued back on the 31st, so this is what they think would have happened or will happen. Sometimes it's off. Definitely off. I know these forecasts here just go out of whack sometimes. All right, I'm out of here, folks. Have yourself a good day. Far as looks like the PB stations here, plate boundary stations, are back up and running, or at least partially here. Either way, the live seismograph stations here look fairly quiet. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on this evening, folks. Have yourself a wonderful Wednesday. Stay safe out there, and if it's cold out there now, out in the east of the Rockies, well, you guys, don't have to deal with it much longer. Got some warmer air headed in to take care of that, the cold weather out there. Get rid of that cold weather. Scoot it up north. Have a good one. We'll catch you guys back here later. Have a good one. Peace out.